Welcome to Re-Review, where we watch movies from our past with a perspective from today. Your hosts are Matt, Bobby, and Austin, and we love the films from our youth, so we're taking a look back to see if they still hold up. On this episode, we're discussing Clue. It was released in 1985, directed by Jonathan Lynn, stars Eileen Brennan, Tim Curry, Christopher Lloyd, and Madeline Kahn. This movie is the ultimate example of trying to figure out who done it. Now, it's a fair warning, we are spoiling a 40-year-old movie, so if you haven't seen it, we will be revealing key plot points. You know, one of the first things I thought about is, what do you feel your knowledge is of movies that are based on board games, where the board game existed prior to the movie being created?
Oh, man.
Battleship.
That's good. Okay, Bobby's got one.
Wait, but so okay. So can it be like around this time? So like obviously Jumanji, but Jumanji after.
Jumanji was not a board game before the movie.
Do we know that for a fact?
According to the internet. How's that for my...
You just believe whatever you read online?
For my fact checking, Jumanji does not count. What else do we got? Anyone else?
Wait, did they ever make a movie called Sorry?
Monopoly.
So what I'm seeing is Dungeons and Dragons, if you want to count that.
Board game.
And then I'm also seeing Ouija.
Oh.
So it looks like there's some horror films that are based around
true. It. That's a very loose interpretation of board game, but sure.
I mean, you buy a thing and it gets cardboard. Or some form of paper that's harder than regular that you put on a tabletop and you pretend to play with your friends that the demons are coming. Sorry. Let's get back to Clue. Have you ever played Clue as a board game?
Yes.
I have, yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
I think I enjoyed it for like, so okay, here's the thing, right? So we're talking about,
because I feel like Clue was not one that stuck around for me and my friends. Like we played everything but this game.
So, you know, if I look back and I think about board games and how they usually, so Monopoly, I've never finished a game of Monopoly. I don't even know like if it's even humanly possible without people just giving up.
Yeah, I've only had people give up when it's clear that someone is going to win.
With Clue, I have a couple distinct memories of playing it. The thing that I remember most about it was, and to an extent, maybe the movie did a good job of portraying this, that it was kind of convoluted to figure out who did what where in that. And there wasn't a lot of excitement, you know, as a game, you know. Whereas I feel like, and you know, maybe my memories are a bit skewed, but if I compare it to something like Dungeons and Dragons, where creativity is a big part of the game and commitment is a big, like role playing and everything, like that's a huge part of the game. I never got that impression from playing Clue. And then definitely don't have the excitement of something like, you know, like Trouble or Sorry or, you know, Connect Four, you know. So like it didn't have that, like, you know, if I had that on a table with a bunch of other board games, it wasn't my go-to. 100% was not my go-to.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like I said, maybe I played it once, but I have no real fond memories around the board game itself. What about for you, Bobby?
Yeah, so I hadn't played it in a really, really, really long time until relatively recently.
You've actually played it?
I have. Okay. I have played it, and it had been when I was a kid, I think, and then more recently, I've actually played it, and I played it with my daughter who was 10, and she really enjoyed it, and so it was really fun to play with her. And you know, she kind of likes to be the one who controls everything and the one who like. I can't remember if they had like a game master type of person who gives you all the pieces and she'd be like, okay, here's your piece and all this kind of stuff. So I enjoyed it, but I did like where they had the one callback to the game or they had a bunch of them, but the one callback I liked to the game in the movie was when he said, oh, Colonel Mustard, you know, did it in the library with the candlestick or whatever, you know? And I was like, oh, hey, that's like.
But that's like a callback from the ads, right? From the marketing?
Well, that's what you say, like when you guess if the because the idea of the game is it's like a board game where you play, where you roll dice and you go to various places, right? And then there's all these, you're in a mansion, kind of like the movie setup. Like there's a library and a study, and then you go and like you have to guess like based on like the information you have, and then when you think you know who did it, you can declare like, okay, I think that Colonel Mustard did it in the library with the candlestick, and then if you're right, then you win the game.
Win. Well, so based on that description, and ultimately, you know, Matt, you played it quite a bit. And if you were there in 1985, is this movie worthy, or sorry, is this board game worthy of making a movie from?
Did I get the description right?
I don't play the game. I have no idea. I'm assuming you're correct.
Okay, I think I'm close enough. I mean, I may be wrong about something. Somebody can correct me in the comments, but
would you have made a movie based on this board game, based on what you just described?
I think it's an interesting idea. I mean, I think there's enough to play with to put it there. I think there's enough interesting characters. So there's, you know, all the characters like they had in the movie, and then my question is like, was there writing session like actually playing the game and then whatever they did? Like, I mean, obviously there was multiple different situations, so they couldn't have gone with just what happened in the game, but
they went with a lot of options.
I'm curious, like if they started off by playing the game and then we're like, okay, let's just see where we can go from here.
Or was it just like a marketing grab and they're trying to say, how do we sell more board games? We have an idea. Let's make a Clue movie.
That's how a lot of these things are done, right? They try to tie it into something else, like, you know, Transformers, and, you know, let's try to see if we can sell toys.
So maybe that's the real question. Was Clue like the hottest selling board game in the early 80s or maybe the 70s or something that said, man, we really need to turn this into a property?
I think it was probably the one that was closest to being able to make a movie. Because like really, like if you look at Battleship, like it's a movie about battleships. It doesn't really have a ton to do with the fact that there's a board game. But I think Clue, like...
Wait, it doesn't have two people guessing random squares and things blow up? That isn't how the film works?
I mean, not that I'm aware of. I mean, I don't have that great of a memory about what the movie was, but I don't think it was that.
There was definitely not aliens involved in the board game.
Right. So I don't think... I think that there was more of a potential for a Agatha Christie type, you know, Knives Out type of story than in this. I mean, as far as board games go, I think there's a fair amount of potential for a movie in this compared to some of the other board games.
Well, you just mentioned one of the things of this movie feeling a bit like a precursor for some items. So Knives Out's one of them. Matt, I wrote down, what else do I have here? Oh, we made a comment about Weekend at Bernie's, but that I don't think that's really it. I actually put in there a precursor to Scream. I would have liked if someone asked the question, what's your favorite movie? Because there was enough shenanigans and running around that I was like, what's going on right now?
It definitely was that type of movie. Like I don't know if I was expecting like as much of a comedy as it was, I guess. I mean, I knew it had to be like, I think the best way to go with this kind of movie is to have it be kind of comedic in tone, but I wasn't expecting it to be so like Naked Gun-ish kind of.
Is that a factor because it's
or
the
like
80s?
Or like all the like airplane style jokes where like they say something and then the person takes it like super literally, or they take it to mean something else, you know, like all those airplane style jokes.
Mm-hmm. No, it completely feels like that. Is there, Matt, a character for you that stands out with all their faux names?
Am I gonna? I mean, obviously
Wait, hold on. There's a lot of pause there. I'm not going to fill in the answer for you. Yes, tell us.
I'm enjoying this question.
Well, because like to me, you know, you had. I mean, I guess that was the thing that kind of makes it stand out, and I wonder if this is really a trope of mystery movies. Which at the heart of this is a mystery movie. Yeah, it's got comedy and stuff like that, but you know, it still adheres to the same structure that I feel like most mystery movies, like traditional mystery movies, are. So, you know, we talked about Knives Out, Orient Express, you know, a lot of the, you know, normal typical types. Obviously, you have really, out there, like Seven would be a more atypical mystery movie, right? Mm-hmm. It's ensembles. You have an eclectic ensemble cast. You look at, any of the traditional mystery movies that you think of. This one obviously adheres to that. I mean, just going through the cast at the beginning, seeing like Christopher Lloyd on there and a bunch of, how many of them were like, oh, I know that guy from somewhere, that person from somewhere, that we did during this. Like, oh yeah, it's that person. And I think it's because I think a lot of them we kind of knew from after this time period.
Yeah.
Like, early 90s ish.
Except for Madeline Kahn.
Yeah.
Blazing Saddles.
Yeah. Well, no, Blazing Cat. When did that come out?
70s?
Christopher Lloyd, Taxi.
Oh yeah, no, that's the role that everyone thinks of when I think of Christopher Lloyd. I mean, to me, I'm, if I had to pick one of them, it'd be Tim Curry's character. I mean, Tim Curry's always a good actor whenever it comes to weird roles. I kind of wish that it would have been a little bit more out there, especially with like the way it kind of did the twists and turns towards the end. Like they very much were pulling. I mean, I brought it up too that, a lot of this was kind of Usual Suspects and a little bit of Reservoir Dogs, where it's like everyone gets their code name and then it's like, it turns out that the one guy was actually the real guy by the end of it, right. to the point where like, I'm like, how much of this did those guys steal to put into their franchises or movies? But yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one, it'd probably be him. I can't remember did they actually give him a name? I mean, obviously
Wadsworth.
Yeah, Wadsworth. Yeah,
the butler, non-butler,
butler, non-butler. Yeah, the multiple endings.
Was he a butler in Scary Movie?
He was a butler in Home Alone 2. He was like okay.
Because I'm thinking I've seen him as I felt like I saw more butler action with him. But buttling or whatever he said.
He buttles.
He buttles. Rebuttals. Thinking through the character list, it's one of those where I guess for me, I do want to ask this. How much time were you spending as you were watching it trying to figure out who done it versus what we got at the end, which was the like quadruple path of some of this may be right, some of this may be wrong? Like prior to them getting into that breakdown with the multiple endings, did you feel like you had a handle on what they were trying to show us?
I was trying to. So what it ended up, so this is where it kind of threw me off a little bit on the multiple endings thing. I was trying to watch what everyone was doing and trying to use that as the indicator of who would ultimately be behind it. The one thing going to this I wasn't expecting was the multiple deaths that occurred. I was expecting it to be, it's like when Mr. Body shut off the lights and there's a murder, is like, it kind of threw me off because I thought it was going to be something a little bit more organic than that. And then when the murders kept happening, it was almost getting to the ludicrous level of like bodies, like it was like bring out your dead moment. And so, up until probably around the point of the first murder, like I was, looking at, the Michael McKean's character or whatever, as he was bumbling around. I was like, he's too bumbly. He's like Clark Kent trying to pretend not to be Superman, and small things that some of the characters were doing on how they were touching something or what they were handling or how they would react to it. So like I was trying to, but not in the sense of trying to figure out who done it, but just to see who had, what they're trying to, because my favorite movies are the ones where you can go back and rewatch them over and over again to find nuanced things. So I was trying to do that as we were watching it rather than having to go back and rewatch it again. Because I saw this movie when I was probably 7 on TV. Okay. So I remembered next to nothing about it other than what was the scene that I remember? I think it was the kitchen scene with the cook falling out. I think that was the only scene that I really remembered. So I went into this just as fresh as someone not having seen it before. So I was trying to look for all that kind of stuff. as it was happening. And then the multiple endings kind of threw me off because like, oh, all the stuff I caught wasn't worth anything. Okay.
Yeah. Did you think that was kind of like cop out? Like we couldn't pick, so let's show all these things? Or were you amused by that or enjoy that kind of thing?
I mean, from what I saw, that was John Landis's contribution to it, was the idea of the multiple endings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was because the often used word in this movie, red herring, was the intention, was to get people to think they know what's happening. And then I was like, all right, I knew it was, I can't remember her name, the lady in green.
Scarlet.
I was like, I knew it was her. And then I was like, but what about if this happened? Just to, throw people off each time. It kind of felt like Lord of the Rings there for a second. I was like, oh my, how many of there's going to be? Yeah, by the end of it, was it the dogs? Is that who is going to be? I legit, I know it didn't really go this way. I legit thought the dog poop was going to somehow play into.
So did I.
I did too.
For as long as they dragged on that joke, I thought that was going to be the thing that was going to be like, but I walked into the room and I smelled a thing, but you hadn't been in that room yet. Blah, blah, blah.
Right. I mean, I missed where he stepped in it too. So I was like, where did the origin of this joke come from? But they're just going with it.
I felt that for me, that introduction of the poop, never ending poop joke, which look, I love when a joke goes too long. I really do. Family Guy taught me how to appreciate that. At the same time, I didn't enjoy this one, and it felt like a warning sign for me that I think I'm going to feel the length of this short movie, and it's going to feel a lot longer than I want it to, because they're just egging on the same type of thing over and over, and I feel the multiple endings did a bit of that. Before we get to that part, I do want to talk about the house only from the perspective of, obviously it's such an important part of the board game itself and the locations where things happen. How did you feel about the setup of the house and really getting sort of insight into the pathways and how someone could be moving in and out of these spaces? I, for one, was looking at all the expensive furniture and be like, what would it be like to live in a place like this? And then ultimately being terrified that it would be haunted because it feels like a haunted mansion or something like that. How'd you feel about the house?
So I couldn't get over the fact that it just felt like a set the entire time.
Yeah.
And like seeing that it, was done on the production stages, and I get it. There's no reason to do it in a reel, but it just never. It felt not much different than watching the Munsters, as far as the quality of it.
That's a good call. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And maybe that was intentional. I don't know, but it never really felt like a real lived-in house. I think it was like I could have easily seen them taking that set down and put it on a Broadway production, the way that it was kind of built.
They sold it to a TV show after.
Really? They're right. There was a moment, I think, when they sat down at the dining table, Matt, that I fully said, this feels like a TV show.
Yeah, I thought that a lot. Like something about the lighting, just kind of felt, I don't want to say uncinematic, but there's something about the lighting that just kind of not like improv in terms of words, but kind of done like a stage play, kind of as opposed to I
mean, they sang in one part, right?
How movies are very piecemeal. Here's this little piece, do this, do this, do this. I wonder if it was filmed in a huge part of it where they just go like it's a play and then do a bunch of takes of that and then get a bunch of coverage that way and then move on, because it just felt like it was universally lit, not really specifically lit for one shot like a lot of movies are.
Mm-hmm. There was something, it kind of disconnected for that reason. I think the TV comparison is really, really good. Coming back to some of the performances, I'll choose Michael McKean for mine, even though at the end we're frustrated by him and all the shenanigans. I bring it up because Mr. Body, was that the worst performance I've ever seen on film?
I remember thinking when he was in here, I'm I don't really remember seeing him in very many other movies. I wonder why.
Sorry, leaving. I love your name. It's a fantastic name, but oh my gosh, those scenes hurt so much, and I was happy he was offed very early in the process. In terms of their setup and taking the characters through the paces, we have all the introductions of all these other people that come in between the cop, the singing telegram girl, the random other person to kind of introduce. I think they wanted to give us an element of we should be stressed for them because there's all this murdering happening. And I don't know that I ever felt stress for them. I was just like, oh, it's just more shenanigans.
This is where the ending. So like with most things, I feel like you could have, and this applies to TV shows too, you could have 8 great seasons of a TV show. And if you don't stick the ending, it would ruin anything that happened before it. Mm-hmm. I mean, Game of Thrones and various others that I can think of. I mean, you look at, some classic TV shows and they have, the problem of, can't stop the feeling. All of a sudden it cuts to black and you're like, oh shit. Well, that entire season is somehow defined by, the ending of, The Sopranos, right?
Yeah.
With this one, any logic as to why murders would occur doesn't really hold up when, he's like literally the singing telegram girl shows up. It's like, oh, that was actually because she was blah, blah, blah. She was a patient of mine. And, that was the reason why she was like, what are the coincidences that like all this stuff would happen, even if it was somehow randomly planned, but at the same time, not planned during this one event. And then the cop got taken out. And I was like, the other guy was a cop. At what point we're like, you know what? F this. We need to like, just bring in all the cops and arrest everyone.
Right.
Like it lost its potency by the end of it. Like at that point, it would have been better off if they had just went completely crazy with the ending or whatever, where it turned out like literally, it turns out that the 2 dogs were actually 2 guys in disguise or something. Like literally could have, gone that route. And I think it probably would have made it a little bit better because if you start putting logic to it, it starts falling apart pretty quick. And maybe that was the multiple endings. They're just like,
just give them one and hopefully the audience pick one. Yeah, the audience picks one that they find is their favorite. Okay, so let's talk about those multiple endings because we had first it was, oh gosh, see now I'm going to have to run through it. Obviously the last one's in my head.
I just realized like the multiple ending situation plays out like how the game does. Like one person will say like, here's how it went. And then they're either right or wrong. And then the next person will say like, once they get to the certain point in the game, they say how it goes.
Which, okay, that's fine. Right. But in the world when you're playing this game, how do you, what is truth? Is there a dungeon master or a game master?
Yeah. Like, so basically what happens is you have a bunch of cards and dungeon master pulls out the cards and that says what happened. And then everybody else tries to guess it. So I'm as from what I remember, and once again, my memory could be failing me, but once again, like I think that.
So you think they executed on it, and you like that they did this?
I mean, I think it was it was a long pause. It was enough. I mean, so part of me thought like I was kind of unsure about it in my head yet. Like I was thinking like, I can't quite tell if this is like a let's have our cake and eat it too kind of thing, or if this is an interesting thing that you don't see a lot.
So what did you land on? None of those?
I'll go with the interesting thing you don't see a lot.
Okay. Oh, so then which ending do you prefer?
I mean, I guess the one I like the most is the final one, the one with Michael McKean
is the FBI agent.
But part of the problem was like, I do like Michael McKean a lot, but I did not like his character going up to it. I thought it was a little bit much.
See, I kind of like the idea of it being like one person doing all the murdering. So them landing into, wait, we're just going to split it all up amongst the entire group so they could all get arrested or whatever was going to happen.
Well, you're not going to like a bunch of other murder mystery movies either, where they're like, oh, basically like everybody here had a hand in it.
I'm probably going to agree with this. Do those other movies also serve me up with 3 different endings so I could choose? Because maybe that probably sets things up differently when I do get options where they only have one person who's playing into it. Matt, did you have an ending that you would have preferred? Or can you come up with one?
I mean, I love the ending where the dead guy in the middle of the ground got up, walked to the door, slammed the door, and screamed "Game over." That was amazing. That was the best. Oh shit! No, that was a different one. I mean, if I had to pick between the 3, probably would have been the first one with Scarlett. Was probably the most coherent one because I don't like that all of them contributed individually. To me, that would have made more sense if there was more, if they were all there under their own power, knowing that they were going to have the opportunity to do that. It would have made more sense. But there were way too many coincidences for that to work. The Peacock one didn't work at all from any sort of logic perspective, that somehow they all knew that she was taking bribes from foreign powers. Like, that one didn't hold up at all. So if I had to choose, it probably would have been the first one, but I don't think any of them were really that solid, either from a satisfactory murder mystery ending or from a comedy mystery ending. I feel like none of them quite hit the mark for me.
So I feel like what I'm hearing is we should watch a 2011 version, because they remade this again, made another effort at it. Maybe it has 4 endings. We get the one that maybe it's extra Lord of the Rings and it's just completely worth watching. Bobby, it's no longer 1985. Are you recommending Clue?
There's a lot of neat things in it. I mean, as far as board game movies go, it's got to be one of the best, if not the best.
One of a board game movie that was created.
So, I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff in there to get from. I mean, I think that tonally it was a bit weird for me. Like, I wasn't quite expecting like the zany kind of situation, which, like we were saying before, like kind of feel like takes a bit away from the fact that there's like murders going on. It's like, oh, these murders are all supposed to be funny, right? Which
so you're saying you don't enjoy Edgar Wright movies then?
No, I mean I do. It's just that I think tonally those seem to work, and this one, I mean, obviously, like, to do this kind of thing requires a masterful hand, and it was
a little too Benny Hill for you.
Yeah, I think it was a little too much, like, a little too much of something. But yeah, exactly.
Matt, I can't tell if Bobby gave his recommendation, but I'm going to let it slide. Matt, okay, how do you feel about this? You tell the people to watch Clue.
I think that I enjoyed an aspect of this movie. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if this director didn't have like a lot of experience going into this movie. I kind of had the feeling that there was a lot of roughness to it. And I think that I have no problem with a comedic horror movie, murder movie or whatever. Obviously, Edgar Wright is a really good example. What was it? Oh my God, why am I forgetting its name? Tucker and Dale was another good example of how you can do, even to some extent, Cabin in the Woods, even though it was a horror movie through and through. Like, it's got some comedic elements. I think that you can do the two aspects and they work well. I think that this one really needed a little bit more refinement by today's standards. If I watched this in 85, I know it's a huge cult classic movie now. I know when it first got released, it was like really mixed. Now it's got like a nice cult following behind it. I'd very much like to watch. Apparently there is a behind the scenes documentary done the year before, called Who Done It. I'd like to see it.
I'd like to see that too.
Just to see why they chose to make the movie, what problems they might have run into, and maybe there was even maybe this is a movie that had pushback from the studio or something. Maybe that might have been the cause of some of the problems. I think that if you're a mystery fan, it's probably not going to be that satisfying for you. If you're a comedy fan from the 80s, I think you could do worse. I don't know if I would go out of my way to watch it, but at the very least, if you're with some friends and you want to get some drinks, I think I laughed a couple times. I think that it's worth checking out at least for that much. But yeah.
I think what's an unratedly difficult thing is to have as many people as they had in basically every scene. There was like every single person in the cast was like in the same room every single time. Just like, I mean, there was a little bit of when they split up, but it seemed like it was pretty underratedly difficult to just have as many people as they did with the blocking and trying to set it up and be like, okay, where are you going to stand where you're not going to block this other person from the camera? And I think it was probably like deceptively complex to make it all just not seem like chaos.
Bobby's going to watch a documentary and report back to us. Give us a summary. Tell us how hard it actually was. I feel like this hits that 80s feel. It does give you those nostalgia hit of like, oh yeah, this is how things were made back then. At the same time, it's nice to feel the history of things that would lead to Knives Out, or, like you mentioned, the way Edgar Wright might approach things, and maybe seeing him have a take on this film, I'd be more into it. I'm good. I don't need to watch this one ever again, ever. I'm just going to say it. It's, yes, we're spoiled because we've had a lot of things that have come from it, and this is not for lack of appreciating the effort that went into its creation. But, well, maybe I'll watch Clue 2011 and my report back will be on whether or not they made it better sometime later. As always, thank you for listening. And remember, husbands should be like Kleenex, soft, strong, and disposable.